Do you recognize this song?
Coffee in the morning and toast with the butter.
You know I do.
I love your new EP. It's so good.
Thanks,
Not a
Joel.
bad song on it. There's just so much going on. You can really tell your personality through it. It's so fun, and it's just like, there's just so much to talk about. So let's talk about it.
Let's get into it.
Tell me about some like bass techniques you used when you were writing some of the songs. Like, was there any melody writing techniques you used with the bass?
Yeah, so for me, since bass is my, first instrument and kind of like my main thing, that's like how I express myself the most clearly, I think. So I kind of use the bass as like not only, a groove element and like keeping the rhythm of a song, but also sort of as another melodic element. So I think in a lot of the songs on the EP, it's kind of acting as both like the groove and the melody. So like in Vintage, like the bass line is kind of like a hook itself.
I need a vintage boy for my outfit.
Which was like really a conscious decision. In Toast, it kind of like Toast with Butter kind of goes like a little bit crazy on purpose. Kind of like all over the place. I just did like one take through and I kind of ended up just using it because it kind of represents like the freaking outness of like the lyrics, I guess. So yeah, all those decisions were very conscious, but also just like natural to me. I kind of just sat down and played and then used what I thought, sounded the best, obviously, but kind of just flowed out.
That's so cool that it was a mixture of a conscious decision and sort of just like organic, because I feel like that's a question that people ask a lot, like especially if music theory comes up and like something that people are talking about. People are like, oh, well, like, did the artist do that purposely? Or was that just like, did they not know that they were doing that? But I feel like it's different for everyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like it's always like a mix too. Because I think like you must know what you're doing because I always know what it is, but I think most of the time it's so ingrained in my brain, like funk style of bass playing and like slap bass. And so when I go down to like write the song and play the parts, like I've already practiced that stuff, so it can kind of just like come out naturally, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's always like a mix of both.
Yeah, it's just like the feeling. I don't know. Like, even when I make music, I don't realize what I did until, like, after. I'm like, oh.
Oh my God, literally, like, my best songs, I think, have been, like, the fastest ones to write, and then I listen back, and I'm like, how did I even, like, think of that? I literally, like, even with my song Figure It Out, it was done in, like, 20 minutes, probably. We probably wrote the whole thing, the verse and chorus and everything in half an hour. Yeah, it was crazy. It's just, like, because I think, the songs are the best and the ones that just flow really naturally, and then you don't even realize, like, with that song, I didn't even realize what I was talking about until after. With most of my songs, I'm just like, where are those lyrics? Where are those lyrics even coming from? Like, where? It's so like, subconscious, but I think that's what's cool about songwriting. It's really just coming from your heart, and you don't even realize what it is.
And there's just so many, like, in music in general, it's just so cool how you can communicate beyond words. Like you said, with, like, the bass, like, the bass is the hook in itself in a way, and, like, Vintage, and, like you said, with Toast with the Butter, like, even if it's not saying something specifically, you can, like, feel what you're trying to communicate through the sounds.
Exactly, and that's, like, where the production comes in, too. It's just really conscious, the mix of, like, conscious and just, like, subconscious decisions on those sounds and the designs of the sounds and how you want to express what the song is supposed to say,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Getting into it. We're getting into it here.
Let's talk about Toast with the Butter.
Be my lover.
That's probably my favorite song on the EP.
Interesting.
It's not Figure It Out. That one's a classic. But like Toast with the Butter.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
I just thought the production of it was so good and just so polished, but also just adds a lot of character to it. And I loved the chorus effect you did in those background vocals when it's like, be my lover!
Be my lover.
Can you tell me about, like, how did you do that?
Yeah, so basically with this song, so me and my brother Rex produced this one at home, and I did like a demo vocal take of it, and then I went in with this amazing vocal producer named Jenna Andrews, and we kind of retracked all the vocals. But for the chorus, I really wanted it like super big, like almost shouting and yelling. We ended up keeping a lot of like the demo vocals that I did at home and kind of like putting some distortion on them and stuff and some kind of like weird effects, and then just literally stacking it like insane. Like there's probably like 20 stacks, I don't even know. And the lower octave, the higher octave, we did a bunch of different harmonies just to make it feel really, really full. And then it's my voice in there, it's also Jenna's voice, it's also my brother's voice, and we kind of were all just screaming, be my lover. I have some really funny videos. It literally like looks like we're insane because I'm like, be my love, I'm like Toast with the, but like I'm just yelling. All of that stuff adds a lot of character and just like overall vibe. And I think it makes it a little bit, it's very like polished because we were so conscious about, you know, those decisions, but I like the kind of like grittiness of the so many stacks and loose yelling and gang vocals. Like I love that style. So it's kind of a mix.
That is really so cool. Like, I didn't realize there were more than just your voice in it when I was listening. Like, I just couldn't tell. And it's just so, like, it's such a small detail in the song, but it adds so much to the song.
Yeah, and even the little like oohs and ahs that we did under the chorus there, they add so much. Like I didn't even realize. If you listen to the demo and the final version, it's like night and day. It adds like insane. Yeah, so I learned a lot by like redoing all those vocals later. People forget how much I think like vocal production and choices of, you know, like harmonies and stuff really adds to it. It completely changes a song. Like the melody was the same, but if you listen to like the demo and the final, the way I'm singing it and the tone and like the way I'm expressing it in my voice is so different. It completely changes like the whole vibe of the song. It's crazy. Maybe one day I'll release the demo and people are gonna be like, yeah, this is not it. They're gonna be like, no, the final's way better. But it's just a different vibe, you know? It gives like some urgency too, I think. You know, with all these new songs as well, we made sure that like my vocal was really dry up front and kind of compressed, not so much, you know, like it's not so washed out. It's very like in your face, almost like in your ear. Kind of like how Billie Eilish, you know, her vocal technique, it's like you really just hear it directly. Like it feels like she's like in your brain. That's kind of what we did with my stuff, because I think I'm just kind of like discovering my vocal style and sound, and I thought that kind of conveyed the lyrics more if I was just like super in your face.
That's so interesting that you brought up Billie Eilish too, because when you were talking about vocal delivery and like the importance of it in communicating something, like Billie Eilish came to my mind because I feel like I've seen so many people be like, oh my god, Billie Eilish's songs, like imagine if she belted them, and I'm like, I don't want to. Like
yeah, no, literally like, it would be completely different, and with her songs especially, it's just there's so much feeling in her voice, you can really understand what she's trying to say. So I think people, that goes unnoticed sometimes.
Oh yeah. Can you tell me about something else cool you did in Toast with the Butter? Like,
yeah.
Can we talk about that little subtle tempo change?
Subtle tempo change. Yeah, so after the chorus, there's this little section where it kind of breaks and there's like this bass line break and it's like tempo change and the bass line just does this riff that's like boom, 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 boom. And it happens twice. And it just kind of adds this little break before going into the next section. Yeah, and that was one of those moments where I was just sitting down doing the track and I was like, this would be cool. Like, why don't I just like add something really weird and random? And I kind of heard that little riff in my head and then I just went with it and I thought it sounded cool. And there's also a tempo change at the end for the outro. It kind of slows down completely and it's a little, you know, weird outro with samples and effects and all that stuff. You know, tempo changes are cool. It's just a cool way to surprise the listener and like break away from the song for a second, and then when you get back into it, you're like, okay, now we're back. Now we're back. Yeah, I think it's a cool technique just to, you know, add in those like elements of surprise. I know like Jack Antonoff does it a lot in some of his productions. He was talking about it in an interview with Nile Rodgers actually that I was listening to, and I was like, this is what I'm talking about, because he, you know, in Greenlight, that's like a classic example of the tempo and key change.
On the light of floor, but I hear sounds.
So yeah, I think people forget, you know, there's no rules. You can kind of do whatever you want. So if it works, you know.
That's the most important thing. There's no rules. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Look at 100 Gex.
Literally, look at 100 Gex. You can do whatever you want. Just whatever sounds the best. Whatever sounds the best to you.
Do you want to plug anything?
Like, listen to the EP, I guess. So guys, yeah, listen to my EP. It's called How Do We Get Here. You can find it in my bio. You can find it on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, anywhere. Go check it out. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, do it.
Do it.